Previously on Unscripted.
I understand if you may not have heard about it because you were away, and I know when people go on vacation, they're sort of out of touch.
Can I guess what it is?
The fact that you want to guess, you must know what it is.
Nestea is back.
Nestea is back, baby.
You're listening to Unscripted with Skip Sherman and Josh Obadia.
Okay, Skip, so the topic for today is favorite sports documentaries. But before we get to that, our regular listeners may think that we talk about Ice-T a lot. And that's because we talk about Ice-T a lot. And we're going to start off today's show talking about Ice-T once again because, as I had mentioned on our previous episode, I went to, or on the previous episode, I mentioned that I was going to go to the Nestea launch at the Eaton Center. So I went.
I know you sent me some nice pictures. It looked like a big deal.
It was a big deal. And I'll tell you all about it. First of all, they had this giant, larger than life size can of iced tea. It was empty, of course. It was hollow. And I wanted to take it home with me. And I asked the guy in charge if I could take it home. And he said I couldn't.
Of course he couldn't.
But he was actually a real nice guy. Turns out he's from Montreal, and we started speaking French. And he had to take this big thing back to Montreal because apparently they're going to be doing some sort of launch in the province of Quebec somewhere as well. So maybe you'll find out about it and maybe you'll go.
Maybe I'll go and I'll protest. You'll hear why I'm going to protest, but yeah.
Anyway, so they weren't just giving out little samples like they often do at the grocery store. They were giving like a whole bottle of iced tea, and I think they had like 3 or 4 different flavors. I chose the regular lemon flavor, and I took it with me. I didn't open it there on the spot. And they also had a wheel that you could spin, and you could win stuff. And I was trying to win the baseball cap, but there's only one spot on the wheel that says baseball cap, so it's very hard to win. I ended up getting a coupon for $1.50 off next time I buy a case of iced tea, which is a good thing to have because I'm going to buy another case of iced tea at some point. So it was, I was going to say it was a fun event. I was there for maybe 15 minutes total, not that long.
Oh, you were only there for 15 minutes?
I mean, how long, you wait in line, you get your beverage, you spin the wheel, and then you go. How long does it take,
Yeah.
I did go. I went at lunchtime. And then I went again after work, so I went twice.
But the problem with Nestea though, right now is I've tried the new Nestea, the Nestea brand of Nestea. It's not good. Like they ruined it. They actually ruined it. I don't know what they did, but it's not what it was before.
Okay, so it is different, but I need to ask you a few questions. Well, really one question.
Right.
When you tried it, were you drinking out of the bottle or out of the can?
The can.
Okay. Now that makes a difference. So
no, of course it does.
So the one I tried at first was the bottle, and right away I noticed this is different for sure. Then I purchased a case of the cans from the grocery store. And as you know, as I've told you, I've got the new Nestea in my house, the old Nestea, and Fuse. I have all 3.
Yeah.
And luckily, a friend of mine came over the other night to watch the season opening NFL game.
Right. And he did a taste test.
And he administered a blind taste test on me. I asked him to do it.
Okay, so what happened?
So this was perfect because I had 3 identical cups and I had written on the bottom of each cup what it was. And then he poured them and I wasn't looking. And then he mixed them up. He mixed up the order. So I really had no clue what was what. So I tried to guess, of all 3, I tried to guess which one I was drinking. Of the 3, I was only able to guess one of them correctly. And that was the Fuse.
Oh, really?
So I couldn't tell the difference between the old Nestea and the new Nestea when I did the blind taste test. Which is interesting because when I drank it a week earlier, I noticed that there was a difference.
I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to get my wife to do a taste test on me. We'll reveal the results next time. But like I'm like 1,000% sure that I could identify the new one, and that probably Fuse and the old one are like, to me they're identical because we already did a taste test way back last year. But like to me the new one just has a completely different taste. It really tastes of tea, like actual more tea flavor. you know? So I think I'd be able to identify the new one, but maybe not. Maybe when you have them all next to each other, it's really not the same. Like my son right now, he's boycotted the new one. He's like, we're not buying that anymore because it's no good and I don't want to drink it. So like he's a Fuse convert now.
Okay, so Daniel mentioned something to me that he had read or he had heard. And you know how Nestea used to have an agreement with Coca-Cola, no longer. Now they have an agreement with Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
So what he told me is that when they were splitting up, it's kind of like when you divorce your partner. One partner gets this stuff and the other partner gets that stuff. So what I was told is Coca-Cola had the rights to the recipe, but not the name Nestea or the branding.
Okay.
And Nestle was allowed to keep the name and the branding, but not the recipe. So they had to change their recipe in some way, shape, or form.
I mean, this makes sense with the way I feel like how it tastes. I think this is right.
So that does make sense.
God damn it.
Anyway, so I think we've talked about iced tea quite a bit.
Yeah. I feel like Nestea just pulled a fast one on everybody now, and like they came out with this product, and when you drink something and you expect it to taste a certain way, which is what they're kind of telling you, like Nestea's back, we're back, your favorite iced tea is back, and you drink it and you're like, well, this isn't what I've been drinking all these years. It's a bit like of a downer, like yeah.
I mean, it's not bad. It's just different, and it does taste a little bit more like tea, and it's less sugary, which is probably not a bad thing, actually, health-wise.
No, I agree. Well, health-wise, I mean, either way, it's full of sugar. But I agree. I think like the old Nestea and Fuse is basically like sugar water with a bit of tea flavor,
right?
And the new one is like more tea with a little bit of with sugar. So it's like
right.
Yeah.
So, did we get any listener mail?
Mailbag.
Yes, a couple. So Stephanie from Montreal, regarding the Bears season 4. She said, what is there to say? It was awesome. Loved it. Richie is my favorite character. She's told us before that she loves Richie. And Richie is, like, I think, a fan favorite because we've seen the whole story arc, the redemption of Richie. He was a big jerk at the beginning, and then he kind of learned to love him, and he turned his life around. So, yeah, Richie's kind of good.
It was the whole, the internship that he did at that fancy restaurant that turned him around.
That's what changed it, exactly. And then Mark from Philadelphia, completely random message that doesn't pertain to anything that we talked about, but he just wanted to send me a random stat that he uncovered in Major League Baseball about a certain player who actually has 2 kind of weird things associated with him. Listen to this. There's a player named Ron Wright who played 1 MLB game in 2002, I think for the Seattle Mariners. He played 1 game. And in his 1 game, in 3 at-bats, he generated 6 outs. And you wonder, how is that possible? He struck out, he hit into a double play, and he hit into a triple play in the same game.
That's got to be the worst game of all time.
100%. Has to be the worst game of all time.
I mean, unless he played the field and made errors, then it would be even worse.
Well, he didn't play the field because his second stat, which is also weird, is as of 2024, so we don't know if someone has change this in 2025, but as of 2024 he was the only player to start as a DH in his only major league game. Like the guy played 1 game and it was at DH and that was it. Yeah, I know, fascinating. I like, how do you first of all, I don't know how Mark uncovered this, but it's really interesting actually.
I'm surprised we didn't hear about it sooner.
Yeah, I guess. So anyways, that's all I got from the mailbag.
Okay, we'll be right back after this to talk about our favorite sports documentaries.
You're listening to Unscripted.
I'm Joseph DeMedictis.
And I'm Ross Citrulo.
And we're doing this podcast so we don't have to go home and get a real job.
Exactly.
That's right. And we're doing it to tell you about our pursuit of the dreams we've had since being a kid, being young, trying to get into the entertainment industry. We're mid-career, sort of. We're kind of halfway broken in a way, but we both have these big dreams and big goals.
Aspirations, really.
For our careers.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. This podcast is about the journey through the industry, trying to make it, but trying not to have to give up.
So listen to our podcast on all the places you might listen to a podcast. Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We have our own YouTube channel where you can watch the video version. All the links can be found at you'llnevermakeit.ca. Here's hoping we do.
And now, back to Unscripted.
Okay, Skip, we're back.
So we were mulling around what topic to do this episode. And I mean, I know why it came to my mind, but like, it's kind of weird. I actually watched this week the Dallas Cowboys documentary series on Netflix. It's a story. It has a stupid name. I think it's called like Jerry and His Cowboys or like something stupid, but it's all about like the 1990s Cowboys that won 3 Super Bowls. You know, Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin, and as you know, I hate the Cowboys.
A lot of people do.
So I was not going to watch this, but more than one person told me that it's pretty good, so I gave it a chance, and actually I really did like it. Even though I can't stand the Cowboys, I did like the documentary. So because I just had like sports docs on my mind, I said, hey, why don't we talk about like our favorite sports documentaries that we've seen, and then you were on board with that. Like a lot of them, obviously 30 for 30, the series 30 for 30 represents a lot of probably what we're going to talk about here today, although there's tons of other outlets for them now. You know, TSN has their own, HBO has their own series, and now there's a whole bunch on the streamers. Like Netflix has a whole bunch of different ones. So should be interesting to see what you've come up with. I really think we're going to have fun with this because it's like this is like, you know, sometimes at the end we do TV recommendations or movie recommendations. Well, that's this whole thing, right? So I'm going to recommend you 5 really good sports documentaries and whole bunch of honorable mentions, and you're probably going to do the same.
So I had a little bit of a challenge with this because I had an original list of 10 that I had to cut down to 5, and they were really like, you know, 7 that were deserving of being in the top 5. So I had to cut 2 off the list that I didn't really want to cut off the list.
Well, I kind of had the same problem. Like I have a pretty strong honorable mention section. Most of those could have gone into like they're not really that much, like the ones that are in my top 5 are not that much better than the others, and it's really a matter of personal preference. You know, like for some reason the ones in my top 5 are the topics more that I was interested in.
Right.
You know, like
right.
Yeah.
Do you think we're gonna have any the same?
I mean, I think of my 5, it's possible that you have 2. I think it's possible, but it's also possible that more likely that you have 0.
Okay.
I think, although maybe, I mean, look, I don't want to give stuff away, but
No, don't give anything away.
you know
That's
what we
fine.
always say is that when we have a topic, usually the number 1 sets itself, and then the rest of the list comes together. So my number 1 is kind of obvious when you'll hear it in hindsight. You're going to be like, oh, of course that's number 1. So maybe we do have 1 the same.
So I'll tell you a little bit of a spoiler. I'll tell you what's not in my list. First of all, there are a lot of documentaries about the Red Sox and the Yankees, and none of those are in my list.
Okay.
There's also a lot of documentaries about the Celtics and the Lakers, and none of those are in my list.
Okay, very good. None of those are in my list either. Those are all my honorable mentions. The thing is, there's a bunch of Red Sox Yankees, especially about the 2004, you know, the championship series. And there's a Netflix one, 4 Days in October. And I remember when I watched it, I was like, oh, this is going to be great. And I was like, it left me like, I just wish it was better. I wish it was better, you know? They tried a little too hard, to be honest, you know?
Okay, well, this was your idea, so I think you should kick it off.
Number 5.
Catholics versus convicts.
I've heard of this, actually, and I don't know if I've ever seen it, but I know what it's all about.
Right. So this is a 2016 ESPN 30 for 30. The director, his name is Patrick Creedon. In case you don't know what Catholics versus Convicts is all about, first of all, the title of the movie is great, but it's based on a T-shirt. You know, like that's what the whole story is. So the focus of the movie is the 1988 University of Miami versus Notre Dame football game. A game that Notre Dame won 31-30, and actually, you know, they went on because of this game, you know, won the national championship. And the movie focuses on the game itself, which is really interesting because they have all this. There was a very controversial fumble in the game, and you have all the players and coaches from both sides. Well, Lou Holtz isn't really. You have players and coaches from both sides who are seeing the replays, and one side still insists, the Notre Dame still insists it was a fumble, and the Miamis are like, that was bogus, it was a terrible call. Like, they still disagree to this day about like what happened on that play. And then there's another play that they showed that was not controversial at the time, but now when they showed the replay to the players, people are like, oh, we didn't even know about this. So that part is kind of interesting. But the more interesting part to me is the whole, it's the T-shirt that had the slogan Catholics versus Convicts, which was created by a couple of Notre Dame students at the time, and how this T-shirt basically blew up. They sold. There's different accounts about how many T-shirts they may have sold, but it's more than 10,000. During that year, and there's other accounts that say there's much more sold. So the whole T-shirt thing is really interesting. And one of the guy who kind of invented the slogan, Pat Walsh, was a Notre Dame basketball player, or kind of like maybe the 10th or 12th man on the team. And he actually ended up getting kicked off the basketball team, stayed in school. It's because of, he used the Notre Dame logo originally. The first T-shirts had the logos, and then obviously that wasn't allowed. Later on, there's T-shirts that were sold that just had the names and the colors. So that was fine. I just think it's a really interesting documentary, and it gives you a good snapshot of that rivalry at the time in 1988 of the two schools.
And what I heard just this week actually about that is, so as you mentioned, it was a Notre Dame student who created the T-shirt, right? And so only now, all these years later, people at the University of Miami have sort of embraced it, and now they've made their own T-shirt, but in their colors. Because at first they didn't like being referred to as convicts, but now they've embraced it.
Well, there's the side article that's come out after, the side note that's come out after about this is that one of the guys, not Pat Walsh, the other guy that invented the T-shirts with him at the time, wanted to trademark the saying Catholics versus convicts. So they'd own the saying, and they didn't do it. And they later on, a bunch of other students from Notre Dame copyrighted the slogan, and eventually they sold that copyright for $500,000.
Wow. Crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll kick off my list with a documentary called It Ain't Over. And you could probably guess it's a Yogi Berra documentary.
That sounds good. I haven't seen that.
So it's on Netflix, and it is good because I never saw Yogi Berra play. Of course, I've heard his name many times, and I know that he was on the Yankees, and I know that he was the manager of the Yankees. But I always had this impression of Yogi Berra that he was like this, quirky player who, his teammates liked him and stuff like that. But I never really realized how good his stats were. Now, I don't have his career stats in front of me, but what happened was in 2015, the MLB All-Star Game was in Cincinnati. And because it was in Cincinnati, MLB brought out all these former players, all these Hall of Famers, like really amazing players who, very old, of course. And they paid tribute to these. I think there were 4 or 5 of them that they paid tribute to at the beginning of the game. And Yogi Berra was not one of these players. Now, in this documentary, they interview his granddaughter, and she starts comparing his career stats to all the career stats of these 5 players who they honored. And in some cases, Yogi Berra's stats are better than all of them. And I'm talking, Hall of Famers here. So she was a little disappointed that he wasn't asked to be one of these players. He actually passed away a few months later. The All-Star Game was in July, and he passed away, I think, in September of that same year. But the documentary does a really good job, not only about talking about his playing career and his stats, but then he became the manager of the Yankees, and he was actually one of the best managers the Yankees ever had, which, again, I didn't know any of this.
Well, part of a good documentary, a sports documentary or any, is I like them because I like to learn new things things that maybe I didn't know about, or you get a snapshot of time. Obviously, the Yogi Berra is the 50s and the 60s, right? This is like his prime time, like you don't know about this. I just looked it up, 358 career home runs, which is that's a substantial number.
And also, like, if you look at, how many playoff games he's played in, how many World Series he's won, that kind of stuff. Again, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it was interesting because a lot of what I found out in this documentary, again, stuff I did not know prior to watching it. So I would highly recommend it.
Number 4.
All right, number 4 for me, the only non 30 for 30 in my top 5 is a movie called Facing Ali. It came out in 2009. This is based on a book by someone that you know, Stephen Brunt, a very well-known Canadian sports writer. So Stephen Brunt wrote a book called Facing Ali, and then in 2009 it was adapted into a movie. It is a different type. There's a lot of Muhammad Ali documentaries. There's much more famous ones than this. But this is kind of the story of Muhammad Ali, but told through interviews with 10 of his opponents, right? So you have interviews with George Chuvalo, George Foreman, Joe Frazier, Larry Holmes, all these 10 different fighters that he fought, and they tell their story as well as his story at the same time. So it's a very different way of kind of looking at the history of boxing to a certain extent and Muhammad Ali's career. And obviously through the different interviews, you get touches on the times, the Vietnam War, race, religion, the influence of gambling, the mob, all these topics come up through the interviews with the opponents. So I just think it was really, really fascinating. I'm not even sure where to watch it. I watched it many years ago. I think I watched it when it came out. At the time, Stephen Brunt was a weekly guest on the Montreal Sports Radio. He was always on, so he talked about this, and I was like, I got to watch this, So I would highly recommend, if you like Muhammad Ali, which I do, this is a good way of getting a different perspective on his career.
Nice. Okay, so my first documentary is available on Netflix, and you mentioned 30 for 30. I have a couple of those in my list later on. This next documentary is on a network called the ACC Network, which I know you've heard of, but we don't get it here in Canada. We don't. Now, fortunately, I happened to be in the United States several months ago, and I was watching the ACC Network, and I saw a commercial for a documentary. They have a whole series called We're Number One, and there's a few of them. The one that I was able to watch is called 1991 and 1992 Duke Blue Devils. So I was lucky enough to be in the United States when this aired, and so I was lucky enough to watch it. And of course, it's about the Duke basketball teams that won back-to-back national championships. It first aired on March 1st. That's when it was the first airing of the episode. I told you about it. I remember telling you about it. I don't know if you've been able to watch it because, again, we don't get the ACC Network in Canada. But, of course, it was interesting. A lot of what happens in the documentary I already know about, so it's completely different from the Yogi Berra documentary because I knew most of this stuff. But there were some things that I didn't know about, and it's just fun to watch it because you know how it's going to end, obviously. And they do talk a little bit also about 1990, where Duke got destroyed by UNLV, if you recall. I'm sure you do. So they talk a lot about, or a little bit about that as well. So a good documentary to watch.
Number 3.
All right, number 3 for me, I don't know if you've seen Elway to Marino.
I actually have seen it. It's very good.
It's very good. So it sounds like a weird title. It's the story about the first round of the 1983 NFL draft, which sounds like it should be boring because like the draft is just basically like the commissioner reading names, right? But all the drama in this draft, it's like all the behind the scenes stuff. They really dive into John Elway, who was the first pick, and he was gonna be, there was like 5 or 6 different like trade rumors that were happening during the draft about what was gonna happen to Elway. He did not want to play for the Colts. He told the Colts, if you draft me, I'm gonna go play for the Yankees. And like he put a lot of pressure on them to trade him, and then they did trade him at the draft, but like the GM was not for the trade. The owner did the trade himself. Like there's a lot of drama of just on the Elway. Like that could be its own documentary. But then a lot of it's at least about how Dan Marino's draft stock kept falling, and he ended up only getting picked 27th instead of maybe in the top 5 like most people projected. It's really, really fascinating look like behind the scenes. There were 6 QBs drafted in the first round. 3 of those QBs are in the Hall of Fame, right? Elway, Marino, and Jim Kelly. And then there's 3 others like Ken O'Brien and Tony Eason. Actually, Tony Eason played in the Super Bowl. Ken O'Brien had a decent career. And the other one is Todd Blackledge, who like no one even knows who he is. He's in and out. He does play-by-play or color commentary for college football now, but he never had any career in football. It's just a fascinating behind-the-scenes look at like something that you think might be kind of mundane, but actually there's tons of drama behind the scenes, which I thought was great.
I mean, the fact that, what did you say, Marino was picked 25th?
27.
27th. Yeah. That means 26 teams made a mistake that day. Or maybe...
Yeah, and even worse is like 5 other teams actually drafted quarterbacks ahead of him.
Right.
So that's even more absurd,
right.
You know?
Okay, next on my list is Nos Amours, the saga of the Montreal Expos.
I didn't put any Expos documentaries because I don't love any of them that were made.
Right.
You know?
This one, it's not amazing. Again, the problem with this one is that I know everything in it already.
That's also part of the problem
Right.
of any Expos show that I've watched
Right.
is that like anything that's out about the Expos, and there's a couple. There's one produced by Major League Baseball. I think it's called the Colorful Montreal Expos.
Right.
Something like this. Like they all scratch the surface, and obviously me and you know way more than the surface. We can go 100 feet underground, you know, and give you every detail of every little thing. So I never really loved any of the Expo stuff, but continue.
But what I did like about this is it took them 12 years to produce this documentary. They started filming it 12 years before it was released. It was released in 2024. And
Right.
so that's a lot of work. First of all, when you start this project, you probably don't know how long you're going to be working on it. I don't know if they knew that it was going to take them 12 years.
Yeah, you don't think it's going to be 12 years.
Right.
You probably think it's going to be 2 years.
Right. So the fact that they had the perseverance and the dedication to keep doing it was impressive to me. Other good things about it, there's a few scenes that take place at Centennial Park where you and I played softball many times. Another part of the documentary that I really liked, Katie Hines is in the documentary like from start to finish. And really, there's no better person to tell you the history of the Montreal Expos than her.
So, like, just for people who are listening who are saying, who the hell is Katie Hines? But you can say who she is. But, like, she's a lifelong Montreal Expos fan. Anybody who used to go to the games, like, could recognize her. She went to every single game the team ever played. And she's just a fan, but happened to be at every single game. And by us going to a lot of games together, we somehow got to know her. We used to talk to her, and like she's just a regular person, but like she's like a super fan, you know.
She even has an Expos tattoo, which she shows in the documentary.
Wow, that's really cool.
Actually, not only did she go to every game, I think she would actually score every game, and that's a lot of dedication because you really need to pay attention and be focused to do that.
She definitely scored every game that I saw her there. Right. So, yeah. I mean, I can't speak to the Jerry Park where she might have been a kid. I don't know, right?
Exactly. Who knows?
Number 2.
All right. So number 2 for me, I doubt you've seen this. It's a 30 for 30 called Once Brothers.
I've heard of it, but I haven't watched it.
It's a lot of history and a lot of basketball. It's mostly the story of Vlade Divac, who I'm pretty sure you've heard of.
Of course.
Played on the Lakers. And Drazen Petrovic, who you might not have heard of.
I've heard of him.
He only played like 3 or 4 years in the NBA. 2 players that played together on the national team of what was Yugoslavia in the 80s. They played for their country between 86 and 90, but then Yugoslavia broke up and became all these other countries, Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia, Montenegro, Serbia. and there was war. Like, these countries fought wars to separate. Like, the Serbians and the Croatians do not. These are enemies, you know. And what you learn in the movie is that Vlade Divac was a Serb and Petrovic was a Croatian. And even though they considered themselves kind of brothers at a certain point, playing together for Yugoslavia, all of a sudden they found themselves as enemies on opposite sides of a war. The movie really documents everything that happened during this time period. He was a little bit older by the time he came to the NBA, like most of these Europeans at that time. Once he started to get playing time, he played on the New Jersey Nets. He was an all-star. He averaged over 20 points a game. The guy was an incredible shooter, but he passed away in 1993 in a car accident. It was like, you don't know what would have happened to the rest of his career. So the movie really shows that Divac and Petrovic never got a chance to reconcile everything that happened at the time with the national team and the war and all the personal stuff that happened between them. It's really well done, and like I said before, like, I like to learn about stuff, and you definitely learn about this period of, in Eastern Europe at this time, about what happened. So
Very nice. So the next one on my list, this is the first 30 for 30 on my list. And it's actually, I don't know if you know how many episodes of 30 for 30 exist, but this was episode 124.
Oh boy.
It's called I'm Just Here for the Riot.
Oh, wait a minute. I heard of this, but I never saw it. What is it about?
It's about the riot that took place after Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final in 2011 in Vancouver.
In Vancouver, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Is it good? I didn't feel like I wanted to watch a movie about the riot. Like, it seems weird, but
I thought it was great. So
Yeah.
for those who don't know, in 2011, there was Game 7 between Vancouver and Boston, played in Vancouver, and the Canucks lost. And so there were a lot of people. I mean, there were a lot of people at the game, but there were a lot of people just downtown Vancouver watching, like, on a big screen. And of course, they were all pissed off when their team lost. And then slowly but surely after the game, there was a riot and there was tons of damage. Tons of cars were destroyed. Tons of storefronts were destroyed. It was really bad. And so there were these two people, one who I think was downtown watching on the big screen and another one who was watching at home, Kathleen James and Asia Youngman. They went downtown Vancouver the next day just to sort of see what everything looked like after all the chaos had taken place. And they decided to start, shooting some footage of this. And then they decided to do a documentary about it. They only, I guess, started developing their documentary in 2018, so 7 years later. And they were pitching it to pretty much every broadcaster in Canada, and they were turned down by every broadcaster in Canada. Then, in 2020, they pitched it to the former director of development at ESPN, and he greenlit the project.
That's good.
So it became a 30 for 30. And it's really interesting. People started posting stuff online during the riot and after the riot. And because people posted stuff like on Facebook and whatever, the people who, I guess there were like 6 or 7 or 8 who started this whole mess, they became known to the authorities because you saw their faces and you could figure out who they were. And they got arrested because they were so foolish to post themselves, starting a fire.
Right.
I mean, if you're going to do something stupid, don't film yourself doing it. Don't do it at all. But if you're going to do it, don't film yourself. Anyway. So I found it quite interesting. I recommend that you should watch it. And it's not just about the riot itself. It's about things leading up to the game and then the days and the weeks after the riot as well. So it was very well done.
Very good.
Number 1.
All right, we're at number 1. I guess we didn't have any of the same. Well, I don't know what your number 1 yet, but
Right.
So number 1 for me is I Hate Christian Laettner.
Oh, I completely forgot about that one. That's great. I should have included it in my list.
So you did mention like the Duke Blue Devils documentary chronicling the back-to-back, championship seasons. So this movie kind of does the same thing, but through a different lens. Like it's basically exploring why college basketball fans hated Christian Laettner so much, and to that, and one step further, why college basketball fans hate Duke so much. Basically, like looking at 5 different like aspects: privilege, race, bullying, just greatness, and physical appearance. Like, Laettner's a good-looking guy. Laettner was great at basketball. Laettner stomped on a guy. Laettner was white. There's this perception that Laettner was from a rich family, which was completely untrue. So, like all the reasons why people hate him, and then through examining those and a lot of interviews with like Duke haters and Laettner haters, you do get a chronicle of a historical look at like those years. So specifically the years that you mentioned before, the back-to-back championships, and also the season before when they lost to UNLV, and also the season before, right, when Laettner was a freshman. Laettner went to 4 Final Fours in 4 years at Duke, right? So I just love this movie. Like, I've watched it maybe 3 times, I think, and every time I just take it all in because I love it, because it's all about like why people hate me. Like, people hate me personally. Like, I love Laettner. I think he's the greatest college basketball player ever, and his resume speaks to that. And I love Duke, and I don't mind if people hate me that I love Duke and that I love Laettner, because I feel like I'm him, like, just bulletproof, like, bring it on, I'll be the villain, I don't care, So, like, I just love watching that movie.
It's interesting you mentioned this one, and you also mentioned the Dallas Cowboys documentary. There's a lot of Duke haters. There's a lot of Dallas Cowboys haters.
Yeah.
There's a lot of New York Yankees haters.
Well, it's like one of the things that they say: when you're great, you get haters, right? The Dallas Cowboys. Well, I mean, the Dallas Cowboys were great. They haven't been great for 30 years, so it's easy to hate them in that respect. And same thing with the Yankees. The Yankees are the most successful franchise. That's why people hate them, right? It's part of the reason why. Yeah. Anyways, if you like college basketball, even if you don't like Duke, I'd still recommend I Hate Christian Laettner. I think it's extremely well done. Laettner's in it. He's transparent about everything. He gets it. He's like, they can hate me all they want. It's fine. I'm me, Like, anyways, it's really great.
Okay, so I'm at number 1, and it's another 30 for 30. Do you remember the first ever episode of 30 for 30?
I do, yes. It's the Wayne Gretzky, right?
Correct, and that is the one. That is number 1 on my list. So I don't need to tell you, obviously, Wayne Gretzky was traded in August of 1988. I will never forget that day.
Me too.
To this day, I think that is still the most shocking thing that's happened since I was born. I'm trying to think of all the shocking things that have happened in the world since I've been alive, and that could be number 1 on my list.
I mean, you and me always say, like, and it's not just you and me. This is a thing that you hear out in pop culture, out in the world, like the most shocking things. When you think of things that like you never thought could happen, people always say, well, Wayne Gretzky got traded. Right.
like all the other, like there's been crazy trades since then in other sports, but even when there's crazy trades in other sports, nothing will top this, because this was the first of the crazy trades. And I never thought in my lifetime that anyone would trade Wayne Gretzky. Like, if I had him on my team, I would never trade him. And then there's all these extenuating circumstances. Peter Pocklington was the owner of the team at the time, and he didn't, I guess his finances were not doing well, and so he needed a lot of money, and so this was a way to get some money quickly. Obviously, the fans in Edmonton are still pissed off about this trade. It changed the NHL completely, because, Los Angeles is not exactly a hockey town, but it became a hockey town. It became a cool thing to go to a hockey game in Los Angeles. And then at the time, I think there were only 21 teams in the NHL, and now there are 30. So I'm not saying that Wayne Gretzky is responsible for all these new teams that have popped up, but he did have something to do with it, because it made people in the United States pay attention to hockey for the first time, possibly. Now, I know that Oilers fans are probably still upset about this trade even to this day, but the Oilers did win another Stanley Cup after he got traded. So maybe, in terms of on the ice product, maybe it wasn't such a bad trade if you step back and think about it. But the documentary is actually pretty well done, and surprising that 30 for 30, the first episode, is about hockey. So
You didn't mention the name of the movie. It's called King's Ransom.
right, yes, I did have it written down.
Yeah. Yeah, really good. It was in my honorable mention.
And the director is Peter Berg.
Yeah. Peter Berg is actually like, there 30 for 30, like we're mentioning it, and there's, like you said, there's hundreds of episodes, but there was only supposed to be 30, right?
Right.
The idea of 30 for 30 was supposed to be 30 documentaries done by really great documentary directors to chronicle the last 30 years of sports stories on ESPN, the 30th anniversary of ESPN. That was the whole idea. And then it took off and it became a brand of its own, and they're still making 30 for 30s even though we're in 2025 now, so yeah. So what else do you have in your honorable mentions?
I've got Requiem for the Big East, which is about Big East basketball. That was directed by Ezra Edelman. And the narrator, by the way, is Giancarlo Esposito from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul.
Mm-hmm.
Survive and Advance. That's about the 1983 NC State Wolfpack coached by Jim Valvano.
Mm-hmm.
Facing Nolan. It's about Nolan Ryan.
That's good.
The turnaround, which is about Trey Turner and the slump that he was in, and then the turnaround that he had. It's more about a specific fan of the Phillies than it is about Trey Turner.
Right.
And then the 30 for 30 about Terry Fox, which is called Into the Wind.
Very good. So my honorable mentions were Winning Time, Reggie Miller versus the New York Knicks. I don't know if you ever saw that one.
Very good. Yeah.
It's actually really good. I wanted to put it in my top 5. It's really good. You mentioned before Celtics versus Lakers, the best of enemies. It's okay. The U, there's actually 2 parts of the U, which is about the University of Miami football team. 4 Days in October. This is the Red Sox Yankees. Like I told you, I wish it was better, but it's still a topic that I really like. There's a movie called Small Potatoes, Who Killed the USFL. If you're interested in the history of,
I think I've seen that one actually.
It's really interesting. Like they really show you like the USFL and how it came about and the demise of it too. Survive and Advance, you mentioned, and King's Ransom, the Gretzky, you mentioned, it was in your list. There's one really, really good one. If you look up right now and you Google what's the best sports documentary, we both didn't mention it because I have never seen it, and I think I'm gonna watch it now. It's The Last Dance, the Netflix series on Michael Jordan and the Bulls.
So I did watch it. And it's okay. Like, it's just okay.
It's okay.
First of all, it's way too long.
Yeah.
And actually doesn't make Michael Jordan look so great, to be honest. I'm surprised he approved it, but it's just okay.
And then the other one that I didn't mention, that I put on my list, I haven't seen either, which is a series. It's not necessarily a documentary, and it's more of a reality series than of a documentary, which is Welcome to Wrexham. I don't know if you've heard of this.
I've heard of it,
like,
yeah.
It's how Ryan Reynolds and his friend Rob McElhenney bought this soccer team in the UK, and the chronicle of that and everything. But I haven't watched it, and I probably won't, but I just wanted to mention it here because it's quite popular. So that's my honorable mentions. Good list, Josh. Good list.
Yours too.
We had none the same.
Okay, we'll be right back after this with some final thoughts.
You're listening to Unscripted.
Hey everyone, Skip here. I'm really excited to invite all of you to follow my new account at Skip Cooks on Instagram and TikTok. I'll be sharing my love of cooking with recipes in the form of 1-minute music videos, all set to some of my favorite songs. Don't miss out, follow me, and let's have some fun in the kitchen.
Unscripted with Skip and Josh is available wherever you listen to podcasts. If you listen to the show through Apple Podcasts, please leave a review. To interact with the show, send an email to skipandjoshshow@gmail.com. Follow the show on Twitter and go to Facebook to like the show page. And now, some final thoughts from the guys.
Do you have any final thoughts?
Well, a couple of small, I don't know if they're small things, but I just learned this morning that Ken Dryden passed away.
Me too, I saw that.
I didn't even know that he was ill, but, obviously Ken Dryden was an amazing athlete And he only played, I think, professional hockey for, 8 seasons, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct,
Which
yeah.
is a short career, but I think he won 6 Stanley Cups in those 8 seasons, which is,
That's right.
players don't win 6 Stanley Cups anymore these days, and they play for 20 years sometimes. He was also an author, a lawyer, a politician. So it's sad to see him pass away. And
Yeah, absolutely.
And speaking of former Montreal Canadiens goaltenders, Carey Price was traded yesterday.
I saw so many things online, tributes to Carey Price, and we're going to miss it. It's funny because, like, I think for a younger generation than us, Carey Price means a lot, as he should. But, like, Carey Price getting traded because of his contract and everything, like, I was like, okay, whatever. Doesn't mean he's not a Montreal Canadian. Doesn't mean, like, anything. It's not like something to make a farewell video. Like, he's going on paper to the San Jose Sharks. On paper. He's not playing for them. Like, he's not. There's nothing to say goodbye. He hasn't played for 3 years. Like, who cares, So, speaking of other weird contracts and stuff, are you reading all this Kawhi Leonard business?
I heard about it. So I don't know all the details. You can enlighten me.
Well, apparently, like, Pablo Torre, you know who he is?
Yes.
Okay, so apparently he uncovered this, and he's done a lot of research, and he announced on his radio show, like, apparently, like, when Kawhi Leonard signed with the Clippers originally, when he left Toronto, Steve Ballmer, the owner of the Clippers, set up a company. There's an actual company that he financed that was paying Kawhi Leonard $28 million to do nothing.
It doesn't surprise me, actually.
Well, I mean, everything we know about Kawhi Leonard is, like, he gets paid mostly to do nothing. Like, this has been his career in the last 5 years, right? No player, he's been injured half the time, right? Basically, like, they're accusing the Clippers of circumventing the salary cap by, like, paying this guy separately, So, and if that is the case, it's a huge problem. Like, this is a huge problem for the NBA.
It's not like they won a championship since he's been there. So what are they going to take away from the Clippers?
Well, the last time a team was accused of circumventing the cap, it's going back many years already, but they lost like 5 draft picks. So the Clippers already don't have draft picks.
I was going to say, didn't they already trade away all their draft picks?
Exactly. So, like, I don't know what's going to happen. They're not going to have a first-round pick until 2035 or something. Like, I don't know. But, yeah, I don't know. Should be... I'm going to follow it to see where it leads. Like, I like this story because I think it's... I mean, this is all about rich people just trying to get their way. Like, we're talking about Kawhi Leonard, who signed a massive contract. Steve Ballmer, one of the richest guys in the world. All right, that's all I got.
Okay, well, that's all I got.
It was great talking to you about sports documentaries. I'm going to watch some of the ones you recommended, and I'll speak to you next time.
Have a great week.